This is Walk-Ins Welcome with Bridget Phetasy. I'm Bridget Phetasy, and you are welcome. You know the drill. Please subscribe, rate, comment, share, reach out, tell your friends, send smoke signals, whatever. We love your feedback and we want to hear from you. This week, Walk-Ins Welcome is happy to partner with Folane. Folane is a clean beauty retailer with a curated selection of the highest performing, safest, and 100% non-toxic products. There's a special offer for listeners of Walk-Ins Welcome for only $22. That's over 50% off. Try the Clean Essentials Kit today. Go to folane.com/walkin to try the kit and enter walk-in at checkout for free shipping. That's spelled FOLLAIN.com/walkin and use promo code WALKIN, WALKIN, at checkout to get your Clean Essentials Kit for only $22 with free shipping. This week, we're deviating from the normal Walk-Ins Welcome format because a lot of people have been asking me who I am and what I do and how I got here and what is Phetasy and a lot of questions. So I thought I'd start this new segment that we'll do occasionally called Story Hour with Bridget Phetasy. Some names have been bleeped to protect the innocent. A lot of people have questions about yours truly and my story and journey, and Maggie, my producing partner and cousin on this podcast and also in life on scripts and all kinds of other creative endeavors, greeting cards, make Brad Pitt great again hats, whatever it is. Phetasy Incorporated, Maggie probably has a behind the scenes hand in it. And so she's going to interview me and we're going to tell stories about how we ended up here in LA doing this. Because a large part of what inspired this podcast is just the sheer grit and determination that it's taken me to even get to the point where I'm doing this podcast. I think one of the things a lot of people want to know is what is Phetasy?
Yes, fair question.
And where the idea came from. Phetasy's not my last name. It is now, but it's a stage name. But it started as a word I made up for a company, as we do when we make up words for companies. Google wasn't a word either, guys. People are like, you can't do that. You can't just make up a word for a company.
Google was a word.
What?
It's a number. It's like some sort of mathematical term, I think.
Really?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Well, no one knows that. Except for you. And probably lots of other people, but I didn't know that.
But Phetasy, yes, is a word you made up. And tell us what the definition is, Bridget.
Well, it's taken only 15 short years to nail it down. It's basically a moment. It's when parody becomes reality, the best way to describe it. So we are living in the age of Phetasy at this moment, which is why it's suddenly become so easy to define. All of these things always happened to me in life that were beyond parody. It was like, I used to describe it as when irony doubles back on itself and becomes literal, which is basically parody becoming reality.
Right.
And, or irony squared, which is a little too heady for the average person to get their mind around, including me.
It was always very hard to describe, but you knew those moments when you had them. You would also describe them as God's laughing at me moments.
Yeah. Like it was a moment you look up at the sky and you're like, oh, come on. Really? This can't be real. This can't be. And that can be good and bad. There are moments in my life that have been tragic, or tragic things have happened to people that I know, where it's not ironic. It's a Phetasy, but like the dark side of a Phetasy. Like my friend who specifically stayed overnight to avoid drunk drivers and was on her way to a class to help people with addiction and got hit by a guy who had been up all night doing blow and killed her. Mm-hmm. And not to like start this off on a horrible note, but that is just an example of like, come on, that.
Right. It's just too
It's
ironic.
like the guy who freaking started segwaying off a cliff.
Yes, that's a fantasy.
I should write a song. It's like the guy on a Segway running off a cliff. Yeah. So that's what that is. Phetasy was devised as a name for a company because my sister and I, we come from divorce. My family's like many Americans and people all over the world. Our parents were divorced and we were always looking for greeting cards and none of them ever spoke to us because they were Hallmark cards. They're better about it now. I feel like now it's better. I still think the market is there for our greeting cards.
We have lists of greeting cards that we want to make in notebooks.
And many designed already.
Uh-huh.
So if you want to fund our greeting card line and you're listening to this and you're a billionaire and you're like, this girl's onto something. I like these two. They've got moxie.
Then welcome, friend.
Please email me because I have this stuff all ready to go. I just need someone with a little bit of business acumen.
With a little bit of startup capital.
I need an angel investor stat for this. Anyway. The angel investor was me, because I'm an idiot, and I started PHETASY.com, and I made a bunch of these greeting cards, and they were digital greeting cards. This was back in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And
they were limited edition printings.
And then digital e-cards that you could send, and they were sweet. They like flipped. They were what were they called? The Flash, which is horrible. But they were awesome because they actually flipped and made a noise. They were really cool, but no one who uses Flash. Does anyone use Flash anymore?
I think so. I don't know. I don't know.
We're old ladies. We're 80.
The internets.
Maggie's barely on the internets, and I'm on Twitter, but that's as far in the internets as I go. But I'm still like an 80-year-old with technology. And so started Phetasy, and then I decided in all of my genius to take Phetasy on a tour.
Well, there was also t-shirts.
There were t-shirts as well. There will always be t-shirts.
There were awesome t-shirts.
Also, an angel investor listening, we have millions of those ready
to go.
Ideas.
Waiting to pull the trigger on.
Someone build us a website.
Because your website moved to France.
Oh, God, it's so heartbreaking. That's a long story. Okay, that's the story we're getting to. We'll end up with how PHETASY.com, the original site, ended up disbanding and moving to France. That's where we're headed. So keep us on track, Maggie.
I will try.
And I was in Rhode Island, and I put all the money into this.
Went into debt.
With
no plan.
No business plan. Listen, young grasshoppers out there, and Bridget right now doing this again because I'm an idiot. Don't go into business without a business plan. Yep. And so I did that. I was like 26 years old. 20, yeah.
Fresh out of a marriage?
Fresh out of a marriage.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Really fresh out of a marriage. And then I launched this website and I was like, well, and it was the dawn of social media too. So hence how I became Bridget Phetasy was everyone was like, you got to get on MySpace. You got to get on Facebook. Blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't get on Facebook because I didn't go to college. And so I didn't have a college address. And I did get on MySpace. And I just figured since Phetasy was a word I made up and nobody knew it. And if I was only going on social media to brand my company, that I would just put, and by the way, this is before they had pages for brands. So I couldn't just start a page for, everyone's so used to all this stuff now, but
right.
We didn't have these things. And so I just started my personal profile as Bridget Phetasy, which kind of functioned as the business profile. Also, it was just a way for me to get the brand out.
Right.
And then I went on tour. I was like, just because I'm not a band, it doesn't, I was a one-woman brand. And I took my company, I was very restless, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to wait for the world to come to me online. I'm going to go out and find the world. It was a disaster. No.
Well, you went on tour for 6 months. You drove all over the country.
Jesus, those stories. In my little Passat with my cousin.
A different cousin than me.
Not
I
Maggie.
didn't go because I was finishing college.
We are winners.
I was like way behind. So I had to finish school.
Maggie had to finish school. I was like, you're going to finish school. And then my other cousin dropped out of school to come drive around the country with me. Yeah, much to the dismay of my aunt and uncle.
His parents were not pleased.
No, they weren't. And we started in Rhode Island and went down. I was determined to sell T-shirts in Miami during spring break because a lot of you youngsters won't remember Girls Gone Wild. But I made about, hundreds of T-shirts that said Daddy would be proud in the Girls Gone Wild font. And I thought they'd be selling like hotcakes down there.
Yep.
Turns out people weren't so amused.
We made decals for the Phetasy car.
Oh my God.
It was branded.
I still worry that some inmate found one of those decals when it fell off my car. Talk about a Phetasy story. And when he was cleaning the side of the road and started stalking me online and was just biding his time waiting to get out of jail in the middle of America. I'll find you, Bridget Phetasy, when I get out of here. Yeah, we had the Phetasy mobile.
You went to Florida and then
I did sell T-shirts.
On the beach.
Walking up and down the beach, by the way. Mm-hmm. And that's really hard work. And it's why I always buy stuff from people because, my God, I would do it for hours, 8 hours and make no money. And I, we were partying. I was drinking at the time and doing everything else. And we were in Miami.
Yep.
And I was still quite a youngster.
Yep. Fresh out of Girls Gone Wild days yourself.
Oh, I feel like I was entering the Girls Gone Wild days, part 2. I was entering my renaissance phase of Girls Gone Wild. It was like young woman going wild. Mm-hmm. And we had friends in Miami. And there was a lot of raging. And my other friend from high school came down and they were all supposed to be helping. And nobody was. They were all partying.
Off to Fort Lauderdale to party.
I was so mad. And I was just angrily selling T-shirts and then passive aggressively being pissed off at everybody every night.
I remember you calling me about that. You got so upset.
Yeah, they were all just raging. And I was like, trying to make some money around
here. Here to work.
You guys all promised me you'd come here to help me work, and they were all just there partying. Should have been a preview of all of the coming attractions of the 6 months, but lo and behold, that my dumbass continued on.
Well, and then, so you left Florida, and then you guys just roamed around the country.
Yeah, then we went
You went to different festivals.
Well, we went to Oklahoma to the farm.
That's right.
And then we went to California. And that's when we volunteered at Coachella. That was my first Coachella ever, 2006. Mm-hmm. And we had to guard these art porta potties. It was nuts. It was nuts. I mean, sleeping on the grounds and they stunk and it was crazy. It was Coachella when Coachella was amazing, actually. And it was really fun. And then we were in Palm Springs for a while, and then we went up to, then we went to
Santa Cruz
for Easter, and God. I threw this party on Easter where I got a case. Maggie's cringing right now.
You threw what's the name of the party, Bridget?
A resurrection party. It's the resurrection. That's what we just kept saying. And I got a case of champagne and I think a case of vodka. It was bananas.
And everyone dressed up as
biblical characters. And my cousin was Jesus. And I believe I was Mary Magdalene. And we all got blackout drunk. My cousin Jesus in particular. And scared all of the locals in Santa Cruz when we wandered around for our evening stroll, wasted, dressed up like biblical characters while families were out after church. I don't know what we were thinking. And then we had a bonfire and was either jokingly or actually possessed.
Oh, God.
Cousin. And he was like pretending to speak in tongues and have like a meltdown and scared all of our cousins. We have 26 cousins.
Yes.
Maggie and I. Our parents are 2 of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have cousins everywhere. So there's a cousin, like they're all over the country.
So you guys were visiting cousins in Santa Cruz.
Yes.
Yes.
And we had to leave the next morning.
Just like creep out.
Like in the early morning. And then we headed off to Seattle. And we were trying to get into Vancouver and couldn't. Because they thought we had we couldn't get in with the t-shirts, but they searched my whole car because they thought we had the t-shirts bundled in white garbage bags, but they looked like bricks of cocaine. And they tore my car apart. They're like, there must be drugs in this car.
Sheer idiocy.
We bundled them and then we had them taped with duct tape. So they totally looked like drugs.
And you guys were just like, yeah, sure, we'll cross a border like this. No problem.
And they tore the car apart. I mean, they were looking everywhere. They're like, there have to be. Then they were just mad there wasn't anything in there. And they made us leave the t-shirts in America for us to even get into Vancouver. Because they're like, well, you can't sell things in Vancouver, blah, blah, blah. And then we went to Vancouver. Came back, and then we went to a festival in
Oregon.
No, it was at the Gorge in Washington State.
Okay.
And I got kicked out of that festival because I was selling t-shirts in the campgrounds, and it was causing such a ruckus. People were really into me in these t-shirts, and they were cheering my name when the rent-a-cops took me away. They were like, Phetasy. Phetasy. Set Phetasy free. And we got booted, and I was so upset because I really wanted to see they took our tickets away. Queens of the Stone Age was headlining. Mm-hmm. And that was the only reason I wanted to be there other than selling t-shirts. And I was killing it selling the t-shirts, hence why I got in so much trouble. So after all these months of kind of not making that much money, I was finally really cashing in on my t-shirts. And then they made me they took my merch. They took some of my t-shirts, the ones I had, and then they booted me out of the festival. And so then we left there pretty dismayed, but then we headed down to Utah and hung out in Utah with our friend there, and that was bananas because he's a bananas friend. And then we went to Bonnaroo, and Radiohead was headlining and back. It was a great year, and that was nuts. I sold some t-shirts there too, but I mean, mostly at that point, we were like ready to murder each other. Uh-huh. And at this point, nothing had really been getting done. I was running out of money. I was maxing out all my credit cards. Oh, mind you, this was the height of gas prices in America, like to this day. Uh-huh. I still don't think they've ever been as high as they were those specific exact months that I was driving around America. It was nuts. I was just pissing money away. Not to mention all the money we were pissing away drinking when I look back on it. Right. And then ended up back on the farm to recoup, and we went to Chicago and then my cousin left. That's right. And then my best friend lived in Chicago, and she drove the final rest of the way back to Rhode Island with me.
And you guys showed up on my doorstep as a surprise.
Oh yeah. We didn't tell anyone.
You just were like, come outside.
We drove straight through. We didn't even stop.
You drove straight through from Chicago, you at the wheel.
That's not surprising.
I was like, she wouldn't let me drive.
I did that to your sister too. I drove all the way to Iowa before your sister made me pull over and was like, please let me drive, you psychopath.
Because you just spent 6 months on the road just driving insanely, so you were used to it.
Yeah, it's nothing. I still do it. I'm pretty convinced I was a trucker in a past life or two because I love those 12-hour drives. Uh-huh. I love them. And America's got great roads for the most part.
So then Phetasy kind of fell apart after that. Well, the company side of it, for it existed then for years, as you wrote on the website.
No, remember then I got on Miami Ink.
Oh, right.
Because when I was in Miami, I stupidly was like, yeah, I'll be on Miami Ink. And I think I signed up or sent in a form and forgot about it. And then they called me and they were like, hey, you made it to like be on Miami. We want you to be on Miami Ink. Can you come down here?
Episode.
Oh my God. So then I went down to Miami to go, and I was going to get my logo tattooed on my butt.
Yep.
It was going to be a joke. I was going to brand myself. Get it? This was pre-Kardashians, everyone. I know it's not original anymore, but it was at the time. And God has always looked out for me.
Yep. Because you got down there.
I got down there and it was their first day back from hiatus. The show Miami Ink had been on hiatus. And the guy who was supposed to do my tattoo was so crabby and a psychopath. And I forget I can't even remember his name right now. I wrote a whole story about it. We'll put it up on Patreon and you'll have to sign up for my Patreon to read it. But you'll know how it ends anyway.
Right. Because the story went on Phetasy on the website.
Yeah. All these stories went on Phetasy, by the way.
Yep.
The ones that were tellable. Many of them
were not.
were not.
But so finish the story.
So I get down there and he's like, I'm not doing this design. Mind you, it's a design he approved. They have to approve the Phetasy design.
Well, he was trying to do it, but couldn't because the logo, if you've ever seen it, consists of several perfect circles.
Yeah, but he approved the design.
Right, but then he was trying to sketch it and couldn't do it because there's so many perfect circles.
Don't you think you would have freaking figured that out
One
before
would
I
think,
flew down to Miami?
Yeah.
It's not like they flew me. I luckily had friends from when I had just been in Miami 6 months earlier. And I thought it would be good for marketing. So I was like, oh, write this trip off because I'm an idiot. And then I get down there and they're like, we can't do this. And then he was like super crabby and kind of an asshole. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't want that guy touching me with a needle. No way. I don't want that energy near me. I don't want him touching me. Luckily, I'd been doing tons of yoga. So I was all into like the energy. No, I don't want that in me. The producer came out and apologized and he's like, don't you want like a butterfly on your ankle or something? I'm like, no, this is not the whole point is for me to get free marketing.
You were like, I've never had a tattoo. I've waited this long to get a tattoo. I want it to be my company logo.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. Thank God. It didn't work out that way. And this was after.
So I walked. I was like, I'm going to go for a walk and think about it. And then I came back and I was like, no. Mm-hmm. They were saying they'd do anything else, and I was like, "No, this is not why I came down here." And obviously, I'm not supposed to get a tattoo. So I left, and then went back, and then it was my best friend's wedding,
right? And
we drove to Minnesota,
and
it was a lot of driving
for the wedding. Then we drove back, and then I moved to Utah,
and then I drove you to Utah.
Then you drove me to Utah,
and then we drove to LA.
Yep,
because I had. Oh, by the way. I had a storage unit. I'm like infamous at this storage place because I left LA because, oh God, this is another story.
Well, you lived in LA when you were 19.
Yeah. I moved here around 19.
For about
20.
a year.
Yep. And then I lived in the Valley, moved back to Minnesota, went to Rhode Island, realized I didn't want to do any of that, came back to LA.
Right.
Then I was like, I'm going to live in the nice. I'll figure somewhere else to live, maybe not the Valley, because maybe that was the problem. It turns out it was.
You lived in Santa Monica.
And I loved my life, and I created a really great life. However, I just so happened to have a neighbor. Okay, so here's what happened. One day I'm at a barbecue, and my friend comes over from our it was totally classic Santa Monica little bungalows that they had from the 60s or 50s, and there's a barbecue in a little courtyard, and my friend's like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And he's like, Dagmar, our neighbor Dagmar, he's like, she was saying some really weird stuff to me about you, and I'm actually worried for your safety.
Oh God. Yeah, I remember this story.
I'm 21, guys, living in LA by myself. And I lived in this little studio, and my neighbor was like a paranoid schizophrenic.
And there was something about Oliver Stone.
She thought that I was working for Oliver Stone and that I was spying on her for Oliver Stone. I'm like, oh, by the way, Oliver Stone, or anyone who knows Oliver Stone, I have a great movie for you to write. And here it is. This freaking psychopath she called my landlords and she would say, Bridget's leaving messages in her beer bottles that she's leaving outside her door for me, like subliminal messages or something. And there was like a metal door out before the wood door, and she would be slamming on it at like 6 a.m. and telling me that she was going to kill me. And I had to call the police once, and they came and they come to my door laughing, and they're like, whoa, you got a piece of work over there. I was like, thanks, guys. She's threatening to kill me all the time.
Yeah,
what can I do?
Scary.
And they said, I don't know, call your landlord. Like, you really can't get a restraining order. She lives like 600 feet away from you. And they told me that she said that I had come into her apartment and bugged it, and I had left kisses on her walls. Like, I guess there was lipstick all over her walls.
Which she probably did in some sort of blackout.
I don't know how it works. I'm not a crazy person. And then my landlords called me and they're like, well, do you work for Oliver Stone? I was like, no, I don't fucking work for Oliver Stone. Living in this shitty apartment.
I would love to meet Oliver Stone.
So then I was in debt, mind you. This is pre-Phetasy. So we're going back to this is like 2001. Kid A. It was the Napster years. It was the glory days of the internet. I was working for buddyhead.com. I was interning. And some of you might be familiar with Buddyhead. It was the first sex column I wrote. I was the Buddyhead girl. I was the only girl. We had insane adventures. We went to Sundance. We went to South by Southwest when South by Southwest was cool. Like Travis and I drove overnight one night, 26 hours straight. You can do that when you're 21. And just got there and went to our buddies who were performing and showed up right as they were getting on stage, and then partied. And then we were partying at the drive-in on the way home in El Paso. I mean, my life's been nuts, guys. Nuts. This week, our sponsor is Folane. Folane is a clean beauty retailer with a curated selection of the highest performing, safest, and 100% non-toxic products. Folane believes that you should never have to compromise your health for beauty. That's why every product on their shelves undergoes a rigorous 5-step approval process. Identify, research, test, validate, and launch. Folane's Clean Essentials Kit is the perfect way for anyone looking to explore clean beauty to get started. Also, it helps you majorly detox your daily routine. It's 100% non-toxic, vegan, and cruelty-free, and suitable for all skin types. This kit is completely safe to use during pregnancy. The kit includes travel sizes of 4 everyday non-toxic skin essentials in our limited edition travel pouch, TSA-approved products, and perfect for holiday travel. A cleanser, toner, moisturizer, soap. I love my Clean Essential pouch. It's been a game changer for my skin. Before, it felt a little dull, and now it feels really rejuvenated. My skin feels amazing and brighter, smoother, and more clear, and the products feel just so clean. Here's a special offer for listeners of Walk-Ins Welcome for only $22. That's over 50% off. Try the Clean Essentials Kit today. Go to folane.com/walkin to try the kit and enter walk-in at checkout for free shipping. That's spelled Folane, FOLLAIN.com/walk-in, and use promo code walk-in at checkout to get your Clean Essentials Kit for only $22 with free shipping.
So you were living in LA, but then you had to move back to Minnesota again, right?
No,
Rhode Island. And so you put
there were other family things going on, and I went home to help out.
In storage.
But I put my stuff in storage because my landlords weirdly couldn't do anything or weren't doing anything fast enough about my neighbor, and I was legitimately worried about my safety. And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna go home and work. I come from a resort town, so I was just figured I'd go home and work for the summer, save money, and come back to LA. Yep. That was in 2002. Or
10 years later, Bridget makes it back to LA.
It wasn't 10.
It wasn't 10. It was like, I moved in 2007.
Actually, yeah,
so
it was
2007.
Yeah.
So it was like 6.
It was 6, but it felt like it was
longer.
I call them the dark years.
Because you got married in between.
Well, my dad was like, don't get stuck in the trap, Bridget. Don't get stuck in in the rut. And I'm like, I'm not going to get stuck in the rut, Dad.
And
then I got stuck in the rut, the restaurant industry rut. And I convinced myself, this girl with all these massively huge dreams. By the way, I moved to LA to be an actress. That's what I wanted to do initially. I convinced myself that I was destined to be a waitress. Mm-hmm. And that was just it. And then I got married 2 years later to a Belarusian.
A Belarusian busboy. I still remember when you first saw him, where we were and what we were doing.
We were basically like not hoes, but like,
well, it was like
hoe adjacent.
My godmother had called me and was like, I have all these sailors in town.
It's hoe adjacent.
And was like, we're going out to dinner and we need some women. So will you get some women to come along? So we were at this dinner with like a bunch of sailors who were in town because the town.
They were pretty hot, but they were,
sailors, whatever. So we were at
if
this
you
dinner,
come from a sailing town, you know what sailors are
and
like.
There were a bunch of like good looking men at this dinner, and Bridget's fascinated by the busboy.
I got fixated on him.
She was like, that busboy is so hot. He's so hot.
I was just like fixated on him. And my other cousin, not Maggie, was like, really, Bridge? There are all these hot guys here with money and you're fascinated with the busboy who doesn't speak English?
Yep.
And then I ended up marrying him.
Yep.
I went back like 2 nights later and picked him up. And then we had a drunken one night stand. And he woke up in the morning and he was like, I'm so sick. I'm so sick. And I was like, ugh, what a pussy. I thought you Russians could handle your liquor. And I was like, I'm out of here. Bye. And so I left. Didn't think I'd hear from him again, but wanted to hear from him. And I was like, that motherfucker never called me ever.
After like a week.
And then I go down to the place where he worked and they're like, Bridget, did you hear about your Russian busboy? He had appendicitis that morning and I had to go rush to the emergency room and I basically left him there dying. Like mocking him. He still, even when we got married, he used to give me hell for that. Like, remember when you left me dying the first night we met? Like, I didn't know. But
okay, but so you got stuck in the trap. We're in our hometown for about 6 years. And that's when, we were attached to the hip.
Yeah.
You moved in with me twice.
Yeah.
When you had moved around. And then
I was a bit of a homeless vagabond after I left the marriage.
And then you went on tour and then you came back. We went to Sarah's wedding and then I had decided to move because I finally finished school.
And you were like, I gotta get out of this
town where I'm related to everyone. And so I decided to it was basically like throwing darts on a map. Like I picked Park City, Utah because it came up 3 times in one week in conversation. And I wanted to move to like a resort town. I wanted to move west. I was like, mountains would be cool. I'll go to Park City.
And I remember. I was like, what the heck was I doing? But I was in like the most hell experience.
Right.
Yeah.
So
there was some family drama and it was insane and it was all consuming. And I also was like coming off the heels of a massively failed attempt at trying to do something with my business. The website still existed, but
right.
I was in financial over my head. And then Maggie left me behind for Utah.
I moved to Utah, you moved me out there, and then we drove to LA to clear out your storage unit.
Because I'm like, I have stuff, and now I'm clearly not ever going back to LA because I'm an idiot.
So we cleared out the storage unit. We drove back to Utah. You gave me a bunch of stuff to use for my new apartment and new life.
The shit hit the fan in my family.
Then you flew home, and within a month, you had moved to Utah into my apartment with me.
Yeah, that was that whole time in my life, holy crap.
Yeah, that was, you had like a house in Rhode Island and all of it. And then within a month, you had packed up and.
Oh, less than a month. I had resettled back into the house after it had been emptied. Right. And then
it's a bit of a family dust up, which we don't need to go into details now. But
it was traumatic for everyone.
And then you called me and I was like, just come here.
Yeah.
Come to LA.
I was in dire straits. And that was idea was like, go to Maggie.
That's true. That's right.
And
So
Maggie
then-
and I had been like saving each other's ass for about a decade at that point.
Right.
And I said, okay. And then
my sister drove out to
Yeah.
Utah with you.
Yep. So then I drove across the country again. Jesus Christ. No wonder, I was not recently, a couple years ago, I was at a gas station and I was talking to my mom and I was like, Mom, she was talking about doing a road trip. I'm like, you don't want to take the 40. That's the Walmart highway of the world. And the truckers were next to me in the gas station and they were like, why do you sound like a truck driver? How do you know the highway is like a truck driver? But I have somewhere how many miles it was.
Yep.
Well, it was on the old Phetasy.
On the baby car. But so you moved out to Utah. You stayed with me in my studio apartment for 6 months.
I had 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at 2 restaurants and a ski lodge.
And I was living in this it was like a cross between a hotel and apartments.
Yeah,
So
we had a
some
hotel
people
key.
we had one of those sliding door keys for my key, but it was like it had amenities. It was nice. It had a gym and like a
I love
pool and a
Park
hot
City.
tub, and we were right outside the town. We were about 10 minutes outside.
It's so gorgeous.
We had fun in Park City for
raged.
Yeah,
I was there for
raged.
Sundance.
We were
And
there
then
for
I was there for Sundance and I met lots of people because I did VIP at Harrio's and LA invades. And no matter what, I always say this, chase your dreams or they'll chase you. And even leaving LA, I was always trying to get back. Even when I was married, I came out to LA and I was trying to convince him to move there with me and he wasn't that into it really. And he didn't know what he'd do. And I just wanted to get back desperately. And then I met a really creative person and we ended up spending some Sundance together, just palling around. And he was like, you're creative. You belong in LA. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I got offered a job in New York at the same time by these guys who came. I mean, you meet a lot of people.
Right. And you were working in the bars and the places where
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am Brazilian. Everyone kept saying, are you Brazilian? Because there were so many Brazilians in Park City. And I was saying, you could say that to any woman. It should be the pickup line for all men. Because if you say to anyone, are you Brazilian? Even if they're Asian, you're basically saying,
You're
are
gorgeous.
you the most gorgeous person in the world?
Yeah.
And so the ongoing joke is, yes, as a matter of fact, I am Brazilian.
Yeah. And we threw a Phetasy party.
Yep, we threw a Phetasy party. We hadn't given up on the dream.
And then you, in March, in the spring, after the season was over, you moved to LA.
And then, yep, I had to get out. I was gone.
Tell the story of getting your apartment when you were moving back.
Oh, yeah, that's nuts too. And I basically am the kind of person who, when I make up my mind to do something, it just happens almost like magic. Like I had sold everything in that house in Rhode Island in like a week. And then with Maggie, I was falling into some bad habits too. And Park City is very much like our hometown, just in the mountain.
Yep.
It's a resort town.
It's the same kind of, we weren't related to everyone, but it's the exact same town.
Started feeling really small. And so then I ended up like overnight moving to LA.
Well, you would talk to someone and you had an
It was
apartment.
like 48 hours.
No, but you had an apartment lined up.
Yeah.
You were like ready to move in with someone or ready to move someone.
I had
one
a
of your
job and an
friends.
apartment, and then I was right outside of Vegas on my way back to LA. But I made it happen in it was like 4 days.
Right.
And I was on my way back to LA and the phone rings and it's the apartment and they're like, sorry, it fell through. And the job fell through too. I was
Right.
like, oh no. This all happened on the drive. And immediately after I hung up with the people telling me that my apartment had fallen through, another blocked number called me and I'd never normally answer them, but it's something in me was like, answer that blocked number. And I did. And it was my old landlord from when I lived in LA in the little bungalows.
Right. And you
I
had called them a week before.
And I totally forgot that I had called them. And he said a 1-bedroom had opened up and it was like $1,200, which seems so insane now because 1-bedrooms in LA are like $1,800.
2000.
Yeah. And that wasn't even that long ago.
And they just wanted to offer it to you before
Yeah.
it went on the market because you had been a good tenant.
And
they probably
I think
still
they felt
felt bad
about the Dagmar
Oliver
incident.
Stone.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. I don't even need to see it. And so then I ended up coming back and that was that. And I've been here ever since.
Right. So then after I had been in Park City for almost a year. It was slightly under a year. I stayed there through the summer. And then in September, I was like, I called you. I think I was crying. I was like, I don't know what to do now. I'm
like, come to LA.
You're like, come to LA. We'll figure it out. I was like, okay. So I packed up my car and I drove to LA.
You were kind of like, I don't know. It's hot. I hate the heat.
LA is not really my style.
Yeah, it's not Maggie's style at all, by the way.
Yeah,
Maggie likes winter and quiet.
Yeah, I like the incessant sun in LA just drives me crazy, but it is an amazing place. I never thought I'd like it as much, but I don't think I would have liked it as much if I hadn't landed in Santa Monica.
Well, then we lived together.
Right. I stayed in your one bedroom for like a year and a half. We shared that apartment.
We were so
broke.
So 2008 hit. I was teaching private yoga and hustling a million other jobs and working with autistic kids because that was what I was doing. But when I left LA when I was young, I got hooked into working with kids with autism it was like an ad I'd seen somewhere. They wanted creative people instead of trained like behavioral therapists. And I ended up being an aide to these kids with autism. And for some reason, it's just something that's always come naturally to me. And so I was doing that again. I was teaching theater to kids. I was teaching yoga all over the place. And when I first came to LA, I was working in a bar. That didn't work out very well for like 6 months. I did it. And then I woke up one morning and I didn't remember how I got home. And I was like, I can't go back. I've always been good at like pulling myself off the ledge, even when I was using, although I'm very lucky. Right. I should be dead.
Right.
But there were those moments of clarity where I'm like, oh, I gotta dial it back and quit this job because it's toxic. So then we were doing all kinds of odd jobs. What were you doing?
I was first. I didn't want to go back to waitressing. Well, I didn't want to go back to waitressing because I'd been doing it for so long, and I just finished in Utah, and I was like, oh God, I can't do waitressing.
Were you waitressing in Utah?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then I became a personal assistant for a while. I was doing babysitting. I was nannying. But then finally I was like, I'm not making enough money because we were so broke. So I went back to waitressing. 2008
hit and I'm the first thing to go. I'm disposable income. Even now, if that happened now, that would still be the case. And it was bad. And mind you, I was still in debt from Phetasy, from driving around.
Right.
And those were adding up.
Oh, yeah. And you were missing payments.
I was still married technically because I left. I thought when I left, I was like, oh, I'm just going to get set. We thought we'd get separated and see how it went. And maybe he would come out or maybe I'd go home or whatever. And we stayed married because we were like, well, let's not get divorced right away. And maybe it will work out and we'll miss each other and whatever. And so I was still married. I was drowning in debt, And we had all these bills. My car was about to get repoed. I was like 2 or 3. I think it was 3 payments behind on it. And
we were in this apartment. It was like basically empty. I was on a blow up mattress in the bedroom and you were on a futon in the living room. And the blow up mattress I was on started to leak.
It was some dark times.
And we couldn't afford a new blow up mattress. We couldn't afford shampoo. We got our shampoo at the dollar store, which I do not recommend. It was like horrible shampoo. And we'd have we called them the days of soup and toast. We went and toast for dinner.
Maggie and I did the master cleanse for 2 weeks because we couldn't afford food. And we were like, oh, we'll just do the cleanse. And it was 2 weeks.
It worked out.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty good. But
it's good to know you can go 2 weeks without food if you have enough molasses and lemons around and water.
You were going on dates to get meals.
Oh, yeah.
You were on sugardaddy.com.
I was on sugardaddy.com going on dates, bringing home leftovers for Maggie. Like, here's some filet for us.
You were telling one of your dates, you were like, yeah, Maggie and I are about to sit down and have dinner. He was like, oh, what are you having? We were like, soup and toast. And that was how it got branded, the days of soup and toast. He was like, that's not a meal.
He's like, what is this? The Great Depression? But it really was for most of us who weren't in the 1%.
Right.
Those were very tough times. Massive amounts of wealth got wiped out of middle America and the rich just got richer. But that's another topic for another day. I was the one, remember how I was like, there's going to be a crash?
Yep.
And I predicted it. Yep. And I wrote a freaking blog because I was still writing on Phetasy all these stories. It was like your online
journal. Yeah. You were just writing.
And I was like, oh, when the money men start freaking out, because a lot of my clients were in finance and they started freaking out and tightening their belts and telling me like, oh, things aren't good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, when the money men start freaking out, like, you know.
2 months before the crash.
Yeah. And there was a column I wrote, and then I put a picture of a guy jumping out of a window.
It was like an ad.
And Phetasy crashed.
And that one column disappeared.
I'm sure it's a weird coincidence, but the whole website, I went to go to the website one day and it was empty.
It's gone.
Like the whole thing. Everything had been deleted.
They restored it. Our guys restored it, but they couldn't restore that article.
And we could never find it anywhere. And I could never even find it on my hard drive. I still to this day can't find that article.
So we have some conspiracy theories.
I don't know. It is weird. That was a weird one. I was like, when the money men start freaking out, you better watch it. And then the market crashed. And I lost all my clients. It was the days of soup and toast.
We couldn't afford a teapot because became our symbol of prosperity, was finally being able to get a teapot.
Which, looking back, was really dumb too, because I wonder how much money we wasted just like even like a toaster oven. We used to burn toast, and for the soup and toast, we didn't even have a toaster oven.
So we'd use the broiler.
And then we'd burn it. And how much gas bill did I pay just making freaking toast?
Yes.
It wasn't exact. That was when, too, we went to the Costco trip. God.
So for some reason, Bridget and I are idiots and decided.
We called ourselves, and you can't say this anymore.
I don't think so.
Maggie's nodding her head.
Shaking her head. I'm like, no.
Shaking
I'm going to have to edit it out anyway.
Artards galore. Maggie's more politically correct than I am, but you can't say this anymore, and I understand why. But back in 2007, it was still a mildly acceptable term. Maybe not.
Because we're from the East Coast.
Where it's a term
still thrown around pretty regularly.
loose and furiously. And it's kind of a term of endearment.
Yeah.
So we would always joke about how we're just idiots and we wouldn't date anything. And like we made these really just basic mistakes, and we still continue to. And
so we decided what we really needed was to get Phetasy going again. And what we really needed to do in order to make that happen was we needed to
spend more money,
a ton of office supplies, because that was what was holding us back.
And I had like $700 worth of credit on my credit card.
So we went to Costco.
And I was like, you know what? Let it ride. 2
shopping carts worth of office supplies to get organized and organize the files and all of it, and that set just to max out Bridget's credit card completely.
Looking back,
and we go to check out and find out you can only use an Amex if you want to use a credit card. You can only use an Amex.
How have I lived this long? I'm an idiot.
So we are like sitting there trying to figure, because we know if Bridget applies for an Amex right now, she's not getting one.
Why didn't you apply?
I think I was badly in debt too. My credit was shot. And then we had to abandon 2 carts full of stuff in Costco.
Oh my God.
And walk away.
It was mortifying.
Because we're idiots. What were we doing?
I don't know. Maggie and I are delusional, by the way. We've had a lot of delusions of grandeur over the years. And some of them have come true. Not all of them, but you know, I do say this a lot. The difference between delusions and dreams is hard work and luck and like, yeah, I think sometimes you can have an idea of where you want to go, but it might take 11 years to get there instead of 11 months.
Right. Which we kind of thought was how it was going to be. 11.
Yeah. And so then we somehow made it through the days of soup and toast.
Yep. And then we stayed in that apartment for like a year and a half. And then the 2-bedroom apartment in our same building opened up.
We slowly started upgrading.
Right. And we moved into that.
Things started getting better.
Yep.
I still don't really know what I was doing all those years.
It's a little unclear.
I was hustling, teaching a lot of yoga. I was in amazing shape.
You were waitressing at certain points.
Yeah. On and off waitressing. Yoga.
You were doing other things. I'm trying to remember what the hell you were doing.
Aid to kid. It was the same.
Right. That's right. And then
who fucking knows?
Then one of the studio apartments opened up in the building, and I moved up there, and you kept the 2-bedroom. And then you started.
Well, because I realized I couldn't be a sugar baby. That was what happened during the days of soup and toast.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went on some dates. I was kind of like dipping my toe in the water. I'm like, can I do this? Because I know women in LA who do, and it looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They've got apartments and cars and all kinds of shit.
You just could never be at someone's beck and call.
No, and I also I can't dial it in. I can't like be attracted to somebody I'm not attracted to.
Mm-hmm. And fake it.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't.
Uh-huh.
I wish I could. I'd be so rich.
So then you went traveling again for like 2 years.
I got my heart broken.
That's right. You got your heart broken and you started doing couchsurfer.com and like had people come and stay with you. And that's how you met Luna.
Well, yeah. And then
you wanted to build up credit on your couch surfers. Because
Luna's my friend who's currently staying with me right now.
Right.
And we've become like sisters from another mister. And I've gone and stayed with her in London and she's come here. And
she and I watched Prince William's wedding like when she was here.
Luna's
and you were
like
gone.
Family now.
Yeah,
we'll probably do a podcast with Luna.
Uh-huh.
And then we ended up I went up to work on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
That it's another long story. We should save those for another day. But long story longer, so years go by, basically. Phetasy just like
your online blog.
Yeah, but I'm not really even on it anymore. I mean, I can't even post on it because
it was so old.
It was so old, and then my web designer moved to Puerto Rico,
and you didn't have any money to like upgrade it or do anything. You were like, I'm not putting any more money into Phetasy until I have a business plan.
Yeah, and then I ended up going back to the farm last year, and it was on my birthday. I woke up, and Phetasy would kind of pop in and out of existence. Sometimes we'd go and she'd be there,
up, and
then sometimes she'd be gone, and then she'd pop back up. And I was still paying for her to be hosted, so I at least wanted it. And then one day I went last year, a year ago, almost exactly, and she was gone, like completely gone. Not even on the back end, gone. It was like the server is gone. And I emailed my freaking web designer who skipped the country and went to Puerto Rico, and he's like, oh yeah, the server disbanded and moved to France. I was like, what? Servers can do that? My whole website's gone.
Right.
And there's nothing he could really do.
Right.
And so overnight it was like all things must die.
10 years of work and writing, it was gone.
And I had to like not have a nervous breakdown on this farm because I had kind of gotten used to it with Phetasy popping in and out of existence.
She scared you a lot over the years of
she'd given me enough of a run.
Yeah.
She would run away a lot, but she always came back.
And this time she was permanently just
gone. It was kind of traumatic.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting by the wood fire up there and just being like in shock, like somebody died. And everyone's like, are you okay? I'm like, my website. Phetasy is Phetasy. We always used to joke Phetasy isn't Phetasy, but that day Phetasy was Phetasy.
Phetasy died.
And I had Patreon at this point because I started that in London, which is another whole story when I like thought I lost my job at Playboy because my editor got fired, and then I panicked and started a Patreon essentially. And I had a Patreon for like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I don't even think, it was a year and a half. And so
Patreon kind of became
Phetasy
after.
And Patreon was what Phetasy was supposed to be, a subscriber service with different levels and different things that you can offer. And now here we are.
Yep.
Sitting here telling you guys these stories of how, so I will boot Phetasy someday.
We are making plans to bring Phetasy back into the world.
I loved her so much. I still miss being able to go there. And I'm, honestly, it's probably good that she's gone because it was hundreds. Malcolm Gladwell has the whole idea. Is it Malcolm Gladwell? Is it got the 10,000 hours? That's when people ask me where I learned how to write, it was there. Mm-hmm. It was 10,000 hours of writing. Easily. Of like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of material of me just writing about life for years, for like a decade. Mm-hmm. That's where I wrote. And then overnight, it all vanished.
Clean slate.
Clean slate. And probably good though, because at this point too, my Twitter was starting to get a little more active. And you know, God
only knows what was on the site at that point.
I'm so grateful that it's gone now. Actually, It kind of is. I'm sure as was my tattoo not happening. I'm sure Phetasy disappearing right when she did was a huge blessing in disguise that I don't really know what the purpose was for.
Right. But you trust in that kind of...
I do. I trust in it, and it will be back. And, you know, as you can maybe tell from this story, I am like a dog with a freaking bone when it comes to chasing my dreams, and especially Phetasy, because she's designed, I mean, in the spirit of a crop circle, but looks like a bullseye. And for me and Maggie, we've always said all roads lead to Phetasy. So everything I do is really just in an attempt to get that brand back up and running.
Right. And following through on all the stuff we always wanted to make.
Greeting cards and t-shirts.
And we just want to make stuff. Shorts, like whatever.
Sketches. The only reason I'm doing any of this is because people are like, what drives you? I'm like, I just want to make stuff.
Right. And we make stuff that makes us laugh.
And that's it. I just want to make stuff that kind of pokes, you know, makes like the Make Brad Pitt Great Again hat. It's just something that's poking fun at a symbol. Things, right. You know, I just want to be a little, Phetasy was always cheeky. Trolling people in real life.
Yeah.
My first t-shirts that are that fucking cool. And I used to wear it in Williamsburg and make everybody angry.
People would be so mad at that t-shirt. God, but now it was 10 years before its time, because now people would be like, where could I get that?
Every time I wear it in Venice, everyone's like, where did you get that shirt?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the time of Phetasy is now.
This is the dawning of me.
Yeah, you'll hear a lot more stories, but that's the origin story of Phetasy.
The start of this journey that we've been on now for
a long time.
Long time.
Yep. Maggie was my first editor. And the first thing I ever really wrote that I was like, I'm going to write this is like a piece of erotica.
Right. And you were like, wow, you're really good at this. And I was like, huh, I didn't know that.
And now we're making podcasts together. So that's really all I want to do is like make stuff. The only goal has ever been to build something that I can make stuff with.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully make some people laugh with it.
And inspire people.
Yeah. And piss some people off along the way too.
Well,
that's
this era, Jesus.
That's just inevitable.
Someone's going to get mad at me saying "artard."
The look on your face.
I mean, it's just such a great and unfortunate thing.
Well, so that's actually a good place to stop. We're about at an hour.
Perfect.
Good place to stop for the first story hour with Bridget. And as you can tell, Bridget's stories are crazy. I can vouch for them all being true. And there's like a million more like this. Like this is only the very smallest sliver of what
and
her life
all the
has been.
Stories within this story that I can't tell
right
yet.
Yes. But this is like
Maggie has permission to tell them when I'm dead.
The smallest sliver of your stories. So
and yours.
We'll get to those. We'll get to those piece by piece.
And I want to hear from you guys. If you have questions, let me know. Let us know. We want to hear, you know, if you're like, what, blah, blah, blah. I can't promise that I'm going to answer them if it's something that I don't want to talk about. But I do like send us questions. If you have questions about anything, whether it's any of my guests, whether it's life, whether it's any of my story, send me. I know a lot of people have been asking me, who are you and what are you doing? So I thought it would be a good place to start with the origin of Phetasy and the name and the word and
the brand.
And the brand.
Yeah.
Now go spread this. Spread it
word
far and wide. The word of Phetasy. I am the daughter of God. I start my cult today.
And we're done here.
Just a reminder, our sponsor this week is Folane. For only $22, try the Clean Essentials kit today. Go to folane.com/walk-in to try the kit and enter walk-in at checkout for free shipping. That's spelled FOLLAIN.com/walk-in Walkin, WALKIN, and use promo code WALKIN at checkout to get your Clean Essentials kit for only $22 with free shipping. Tune in next week for another riveting episode that will change your life, help you get out of your own way, and solve all the world's problems. I want to thank Ricochet, my co-producer and cousin Maggie, and all of you out there listening. This has been Walk-Ins Welcome with Bridget Phetasy. I'm Bridget Phetasy, and you're welcome. It's the dumbest line.